All right. All right. So the first item on the agenda is the required community meeting regarding the 2023 levy increase for the budget that we've submitted to the city. The city does require us to designate one of our commission meetings as a community meeting anytime that the proposed levy increase has 5% or more growth from the prior year. Ours worked out to be closer to 57% because of the fact that we are substantially increasing staffing levels for our maintenance and litter pickup teams. And also just because this is the smallest SSA in the city, both in terms of number of pins and annual budget. So anytime we change anything, it is a big percentage of the budget. So that's sort of where we are. We're going from, let me pull up the spreadsheet here. Is everybody seeing the Excel sheet coming up?
Yes.
Most of you all will have seen this before, because this is the annual budget, workbook that's been submitted to the city for approval through their process. Go to the budget summary sheet. So our proposed levy for this year is $162,513, still one of the smallest in the city, but it is a pretty substantial jump from the prior year where our levy was only 103. And part of that is coming from, as I said, the fact that we're beefing up staffing levels for our maintenance crew so that they can do a better job on the litter pickup and graffiti removal across all our SSAs. And also the fact that, we're in a weird position and moment in time where we already didn't really have much in reserve for carryover because we just went through the process of reconstituting the SSA. And now second installment tax bills have been delayed from the county. So we're also not getting the revenue that we had budgeted for in this calendar year. So that's sort of backed us into a corner as far as, budget and revenue planning. RPBA has the resources to float our SSAs. Not every SSA has that, but it's, something that we're trying to keep a handle on. And it's just where we are. They're saying now that those bills might go out in November, which is an improvement over the previous forecast where they were saying that these second installment bills were going to go out in January. So that is better. It's still not great. And then we also had the problem last year of just not getting the full amounts that we levied because people appealed or just didn't pay or were paying late. We do still occasionally get small dollar deposits from the city that come through the county when people do pay, but it's fallen short of our actual approved levy the last couple of years. So that is something that we continue to keep an eye on. But yeah, as I said, I think everyone here except for maybe Cecilia has seen this budget. And then Eileen, I think if you're still here, just because you're just here to speak on landscaping. Yeah, there's nothing new here from when we had our budget meeting in July. And we did send out emails to everyone on our list for business and property owners outreach, just to let people know. I was really kind of hoping Keith Lord would be here because I'm trying to recruit either him or Gina to join as a commissioner. But anyway, any questions on any of this? All right. Well, cool. We can sort of toggle back over to the regular meeting agenda. The next few items on here are requiring of a vote, which I'm not sure that we, actually, no, I think we do have quorum because I think Heather declined to renew. So we really do only have 3 commissioners that are active right now, Jennifer, Sarah, and then Chris. So I hate to move forward without Chris here. She said she was coming, but I haven't heard back from her since I sent a text 10-15 minutes ago. But we can go ahead and move forward on these other items, I'm pretty sure. because we do have 2 out of 3 current commissioners. So with that, I will open it up for public comment if anyone has anything. Anything at all relevant to Sheridan Road? I've been working with Cecilia on getting businesses signed up for the return of the Ramblin' Around Dinner Crawl. That's going to be happening October 4th and 5th. October 4th is the Rogers Park Day. We have 9 businesses signed up, most of them restaurants on Sheridan. We have a couple on Morse. So that should be a good day. It's the first time we're doing the event since I've been here, because the last one was held in 2019.
And then I just wanted to also announce that there's been discussions kind of doing some more activation at the plaza.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to bring something back there, but I'm not sure yet for next summer of 2023. And then I don't know if there's been discussions yet of Loyola's Farmers Market. That I don't know, but I do want to bring back some type of activation there at the plaza.
Right.
Yeah, that's exciting. Would that mostly be events in 2023?
Summer of 2023.
Excellent. Just getting notes down because I've got to type up minutes after this. It looks like Chris is joining us. That's great. We'll give her a second to get connected. So we definitely have quorum now because this is everyone that's currently on the commission. And then some. Hi, Chris. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
We just knocked out public comment, and then before that, I did a brief summary on the proposed 2023 budget that we've submitted. Nothing new compared to what was voted on at the July meeting, but under the city's rules, we did have to designate a commissioner meeting as the public meeting to discuss the levy increase being more than 5% year-over-year growth, which we just did. It's basically because our SSA is tiny to start with, and we are really beefing up our maintenance staffing budget for next year so that we can have more coverage and hopefully retain people and recruit them. You didn't miss much. The budget is what you saw in July. So we did public comment. The only updates there were that Cecilia and I are working on the Loyola dinner crawl with restaurants on October 4th. And then Cecilia shared that Loyola is looking at bringing back programming on the CTA Plaza for summer of 2023. Anything else to add for public comment before we move on? Cool. Next item up is approval of the minutes from the July meeting. We didn't meet in August. July meeting was the budget meeting, and those minutes were sent around to commissioners, I think last week. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next up, we do have to take a vote on renewal of the service provider agreement, which I forgot to put on the agenda when we were doing budget in July. Basically, the question need of an up or down vote is, do the commissioners of SSA 54 want to continue to work with RPBA as the sole service provider for the SSA? So that's the question. Does somebody want to move to approve continuing to work with RPBA?
I guess I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Was somebody about to ask a question or something?
No, I think Sarah and I both at the same time said.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next up, item number 6 is some discussion on 2023 landscaping. I think I shared with you all at the July meeting that we are shifting from Brightview to a new vendor for 2023 because of some issues that we've had in the past year with communication and customer service and just general performance issues from the prior vendor. So I've invited Eileen here from Balanced Environments, who we are working with, or planning to work with for 2023. We conducted site visits across all our SSAs a week or two ago, and I wanted to invite her here to meet you guys, and have an opportunity for you to share what your concerns and hopes and dreams are for SSA 54 landscaping for 2023. Eileen, if you have a chance and can introduce yourself real quick.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Cindy, for the invite. Yes, I'm Eileen Gaspari. I'm the current account manager and business developer for the Chicago branch for Balanced Environment. And, the SSA is definitely a special spot. We're really excited to just kind of continue to improve, but also give you guys the communication that you're looking for. I think that the most successful accounts are based off of that, not just flowers looking pretty. It's a matter of knowing what's going on, when it's going on, what's going in, and having selection. So that's something that we're aiming to make sure that you all have opinions on, and further input into what's literally being put in. I think that's basically what it comes down to, and I appreciate the opportunity very much.
Thanks. Does anyone have any thoughts or concerns that you're wanting to share about landscaping? Sarah, I know you probably do, because we were just talking about it.
May I ask, do you grow your own plants or do you use a vendor for them?
Correct. We use a vendor. Midwest Tropicals is where we typically get a majority of our specialty items. We like to use local nurseries as much as possible, just kind of giving back in that sense. But realistically, the planning goes into it months and months ahead. I mean, our summer stuff is typically planted in November. Miss Fisher, Kathy Fish, excuse me, from Midwest, she works in tandem with us. So we let her know on what we need, how much we need it. And it's worked out very well for the past few years. Our moms tend to be the best looking moms in the city because ours are the tallest and have grown the longest. So just little things like that make a difference, but also budget wise doesn't stray or go too far, because it's really just a matter of planning. We typically don't go to any sort of big retailers unless there's some sort of emergency or potentially some sort of vandalism, late in the summer where the tropicals are no longer available.
Right. Well, I feel like we have a unique environment on Sheridan Road for a number of factors, and I'm sure you know what I mean if you've been over there, not the least of which is the soil and the planters is old, tired. There was a little bit of amendment made to it a year ago, but it's sort of sad at this point. And the feeling has been, maybe it's just my feeling, but that it's a prominent location within our SSA because of the traffic going from downtown to the northern suburbs, as well as Loyola being right there. So it does have some pride of place, and we feel like it should reflect that, and it really hasn't. And it's something that I think it says a lot about our community because it may be people passing through that would not have a great deal of familiarity with being in the neighborhood, but this might entice them to want to stop along the way. So it does have some importance. And I think the plantings have not been indicative of that.
Okay. And I would
So-
agree. At that visit, I see what you mean. So yeah, I
Yeah.
totally concur with that.
So you'll be making selections fairly shortly then if they're planting in November, right?
So this
Well, we're
contract
not
doesn't
con-
start till 2023. So the November plantings basically are just a clean out and then they put in the holiday.
That's not what I mean. Not the plantings to be done for the fall, but she had shared that the plantings would be made by the nurseries for the spring, beginning in November.
Yeah,
that
so because the contract doesn't start until 2023, what we do is we pre-order a mass amount of various flowers. And then what we do is we prepare cut sheets. So you'll have up to 4 options for spring. Summer and fall, we tend to have more options just because of the weather. Spring, there's only certain amounts of material that will really work well, especially given your location. But you would have those options. So you'll have, here's our mix 1 through 4. Feel free to give us your top 2 selections, and then we plan accordingly. So that way you have more of a say on what's going on. But potentially you might say, you know what, I like this one, but we're not trying to hodgepodge it. We more really try to create individual selections that all are varying. Some might have similar elements, but ultimately you're going to have different options overall that just give you, like I said, it gives you more input and it makes you feel a little bit more a part of the process, because that's what I truly think should be the case. I don't personally ever plant anything without getting an approval or some sort of input from the client.
Great. Well, I think we'll enjoy working with you and look forward to it.
Appreciate hearing that.
All right, anything else on landscaping before we move on to holiday lights? Eileen, thanks for being here. You're welcome to stay if you want, but also you don't have to. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, so
Cindy, I got a
holiday
question.
lights. Oh, what's up, Kyle?
Is there any money in the budget for any kind of parkway improvements along there?
Like what kind of parkway improvements did you have in mind?
Just that section in front of the Chipotle and the Bulldog Ale House again. I walked past it just an hour ago, and it's like 80 degrees
rocks.
outside, but it's still like soaking.
Yeah.
It's like rock and mud right now. It's like still wet mud still.
Yeah, and that's a conversation that we've tried to have a few times with the property owner. I invited him to this meeting, but he's not here. We are trying to recruit him or his partner to join the commission, but he's, for whatever reason, been really reluctant to do anything with that space, and I struggle to understand why. He seems to think it's a liability issue, that if he makes any improvements to it and someone slips and falls, then he'll get sued. I don't think that's how that works. But yeah, in either case, I mean, our budget is somewhat limited, but this is the sort of thing that we might be able to try and work with him on, as far as, doing, whether that's a 50-50 match or just rolling it into our existing landscape contract. Budget is a struggle a bit for 54, just because it is so small and the revenue situation's been what it is. And I'll get into that when we start in on the holiday lights too, because that's, always been, I think, a priority for folks. But it's also a pretty large chunk of our small budget. But I mean, yeah, I am definitely open to having that conversation with Keith again. Because that is kind of an anchor, that building. They're major tenants, they're popular destinations in the business district. Yeah.
It's the only piece of the parkway too that it's like in bad condition, like through all Sheridan, at least with the SSA.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm just scribbling down some notes.
Hello,
Hello, who's there?
you in a Zoom meeting.
Ah,
I don't know. Bye.
let's give her a second to come back. Welcome back. I don't know how much of that you caught because I'm doing two things at once. The question is as to, whether there might be opportunity to use some budget for parkway improvements in front of Bulldog Ale House, Bop and Grill, Chipotle, where it's just kind of rocks and mud right now. It's not something that we've included in the landscape contract that we have signed for 2023, but we might be able to add it if budget allows. I'm just not sure that it will at this point, just because of where we're at with revenue. But as I said, I'm happy to try and start that conversation with Keith again, because it's, his building, and he, I think voiced some reluctance to work on that space with or without funding when we spoke with him about it before, I think during SSA reconstitution. But maybe it's something that we revisit. It's probably worth doing.
So he said even with funding, he was reluctant,
Yeah,
and I heard
And-
liability for,
that was one of the justifications that he made when we last spoke about it. And that's sort of a new one because we haven't had that issue with Chris, with your building, or with Tony Fox. We work, we do include both of those parkway planning areas in the landscape contracts that we've been doing. So I don't think it would take that much to get Keith on board, but he doesn't seem to want to for whatever reason. And I think there's just maybe a gap in understanding that we maybe can try harder to overcome in the future.
yeah, I guess it's kind of puzzling. I
Yeah.
mean, it's an enhancement to the approach to his property.
It's also confusing that he thinks it's a liability too, because it's a liability right now. Like I literally almost tripped on it earlier. Because it's so much mud and it's like it's drying and it's like leaving that gap in
Ruts, yeah.
and yeah.
It sounds like he wants to hold the city responsible for it, which is all the more reason he should get on the SSA.
Yeah. I mean, I have invited him and or Gina. So I think we may get one of the two, and we can't have both because they work for the same company. It's for the same reason that we can only have Jennifer, but not Cecilia. We only have one Loyola person. But I'm trying to keep the line of communication open. So yeah. Anything else on landscaping? All right, so for holiday lighting, I've been in contact with Scott at Illuminite. He is looking to get started on installations of holiday lights early this year. He's actually working on Howard Street this week, and wants to get started on Sheridan soon. The difficulty there is that we had originally asked him to sort of keep the amount steady at about 20,000, which he did. But then when we went back through receipts for the year and where we're at on budget, we are probably at this point, based on where we are, going to need to cut a little bit more out of the budget for lighting. I've asked him to come down to 15. Part of that is because we already used some of the lighting budget this year for end of season removal of last year's lights. And also, and this is maybe more of a question for you, Jennifer and Cecilia, as to whether Loyola was going to be making a contribution this year for lighting. I think Sandy said she was reaching out to you guys about that.
Sandy sent me the invoice a few days ago and I just submitted it for payment today.
Okay,
So that's a contribution to the SSA.
right.
If the commission chooses to use it for lighting is another question.
Historically,
The
we
SSA
have,
donation is coming.
yeah, and historically the bulk of that has been lighting, because the sort of big things that, you know, we don't really have a whole lot of events in this particular SSA. There's Christmas festival over the summer, and then landscaping and lighting are sort of the big ticket items for this particular budget. So we want to keep them going. Like whenever we haven't done lights, we always get letters about it. So we want to make sure that we're still doing it and doing it well. So I think that puts us in a good position, but yeah, it'll be between 15 and 20. Yeah, we'll be looking to start installation in the coming weeks, if everyone is still cool with moving forward on lights. It'll be the 20 trees again, I think. And then if budget allows, the Loyola CTA Plaza.
Just so everyone knows, the donation from Loyola is $15,000. And like, here's the invoice. I literally
Yes.
just did it 5 minutes ago.
Great.
So it's coming.
Yeah, so if that is still coming, then we will stick to the original contract price then. I was freaking out because I was just like, look, you know, we looked at our budget and then Sandy's like, well, we didn't get anything from Loyola this year. So if we only have this budget, we are going to have to cut down on lights. But if we are getting a contribution from Loyola, we can do the lights.
Sandy
At
knows
the
to
same
send
level.
it again.
Okay,
Again and again.
well, that's a relief. I'm now a lot less worried about lights.
Can I ask, where does the lighting start and end?
So we are sort of limited on Sheridan, like we're not able to do every tree because not every tree has a close power source, since we don't have electrical receptacles on the light poles like we do for Howard Street and for Devon Avenue. We have to source power from adjacent buildings and willing landlords, and not every landlord is willing. So that kind of cuts down the coverage a little bit. So we focus on corridors and blocks where there are businesses. So we start on the Giordano's corner, which is the end of the SSA up there at Sheridan and Farwell. They have, I think, 2 or 3 trees that we include. Then we skip down a bit. We do some trees by the 400. Tony is always good about providing power. I think we do some trees over by you, Chris, because you're right across from Tony. Then, you know, there's another sort of void of condo buildings before we get to the Tai Chi bubble tea building, and then the strip by Hampton Inn, Raising Cane's, all of that, and then Granada Center block, the little trees. Most of those do have power in the tree pits, which is nice.
Okay, thank you.
And then the sort of umbrella lights that get installed in the CTA Plaza.
Mhm. I
And
like
Scott,
that.
yeah, it always looks impressive. And I'm pretty sure Scott has contacts from facilities at the university about facilitating that.
Yeah, he can actually contact me if there's any difficulty sometimes. I know he's
Okay.
done in the past, or you have.
Yeah, I know he did last year, and then he mentioned to me the other day, because I guess, you know, in prior years, the universities allowed him to park in one of the university lots, the trucks during installation. We were told that wasn't going to be an option this year, so I've been kind of in a bit of a scramble to find him parking for 8 bucket trucks for the 2 weeks that they're working here. If you can think of anyone else who might be able to provide some parking for some trucks overnight, that would be helpful. But I
They
think I've
told
got
him that this year, was that last year?
this year. They said he couldn't park on campus.
Okay.
So I've been kind of calling around on Howard Street. I think the Kovic's gonna hook us up behind the Howard Theater Building. But just wanted to make sure that if you know, I don't know if you were aware of the parking thing.
The issue was parking on campus without permission or notification or in any way, anybody knowing that he was gonna be there.
Okay, he mentioned to me that he had a contact in facilities or parking, his name escapes me at the moment, that he, I guess, usually worked that out with. But when he made that call this year, was told that there wasn't availability.
Oh, that I'm thinking about last year. Last year, I know there was an issue with them not having notifications. So this year, maybe, I'm sorry, my fault. Maybe he did follow up with the same person and was told no.
All right.
So I apologize for
Well,
that.
in any case, I think we've resolved it. The Kovic's helping us out. But yeah, lighting installation will probably start middle of next week because he's wrapping up Howard Street this week and into the early part of next week. And then Sheridan's next. All
Weren't
right.
there some snowflakes involved in that lighting scheme someplace?
So there was one year that we didn't have budget for the trees and we did snowflakes on fences.
Okay.
But they people didn't love it. I didn't love it. The snowflakes were like blue, so they were kind of hard to see. And it just wasn't as impressive as having like the lit tree canopy. So I think we did hang on to some of them, and we do sometimes still put them on fences. Like Howard Street, we have the Howard and Ashland fence that gets snowflakes put on it. I think that's where they ended up. And we will be doing that again. So we didn't get rid of them. I think he was able to sell some, and then we repurposed the others for part of that installation. Do people want snowflakes back again, or are we good with just the trees?
I like just.
It's okay if the answer is no.
Yeah.
I was not a huge fan of the snowflakes, personally.
I mean, if we'd done something creative, but they were just kind of there.
They were
I mean,
underwhelming.
there's some snowflakes
Yeah.
sorted.
Yeah, the snowflakes were weird.
Hang on, I'm just documenting some notes. All right. Anything else on holiday lights before we move on? All right. So the next item, sort of a continuation of our discussion on commissioner recruitment. Heather did opt not to renew her term. So we do have quite a few vacancies on this SSA now, following her departure, and then also Tony Fox and Nick from the Hampton. The GM that took over at the Hampton after Nick left is already also gone. They change so frequently. It's really frustrating.
That was quick.
Yeah. So we have at least those 3 seats, and I think there might be one more that was vacant even before that. So I've been in contact with Keith Lord and Gina Caruso to see if one of them might be interested in joining the commission. It seems like maybe we'll be getting an application in the future from one or both of them. I was really hoping one of them would come to the meeting today. I did invite both of them. And then I just sort of wanted to poll the group and see if anyone else had any thoughts or leads on others that we might approach to fill some of these vacancies. In particular, we do need to fill a resident seat that had been Heather for the longest time. But she's not renewing because her work schedule just hasn't, I think, allowed for her to really participate to the extent that she, would like to. And because our SSA district does include residential pins, we are required to have a resident. Oh, I did get an application from Caesar from Tropical Smoothie Cafe. So I think that one's maybe going to move forward.
Hmm.
And he owns a couple of those locations. He has another one in Lincoln Square. So he's been doing stuff with Lincoln Square Chamber as well. But I think that'll be really cool. He's also participating in the dinner crawl.
Cindy, does the resident seat require them to live in a PIN that's on the district?
Yeah, they have to be a residential property owner. So like a condo unit owner, most likely, which I think is the case with Heather. Yeah, anyone else have any ideas as far as, you know, Jennifer and Cecilia, I know there's a couple of new businesses that are coming in to Granada Center as tenants. I don't know if you have a sense as to whether they, you know, their willingness to get involved in stuff. I know it's early.
I don't know who owns them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fairly new. Yeah, I don't even know if that would be an option.
Yeah, just throwing it out there. I haven't met them yet.
Either.
They just opened up the salon,
Mhm.
the threading
Oh,
salon.
cool. Yeah, last
Yeah.
time I was over there, they weren't open yet. I'll have to stop back by.
Yeah. They're open now.
And I wanted to reach out to the new UPS store folks too. Do we know if that one's a franchise or if it's a corporate store?
I don't know.
Either way, I owe them a visit.
Does the SSA go on Loyola Avenue, like where Archie's is at?
I'd have to check my pin list, honestly. I think it was kind of, it wasn't super clear from the map. I'd have to check the pins. Cause yeah, that's a thought too.
It does.
It does, okay. Cause yeah, maybe Roberta.
Yeah.
Roberta, or what about the owner of Giordano's, Jennifer?
Maybe that's another one that I could certainly reach out. She signed up for dinner crawl.
Yeah, they're both very active with doing a lot.
All right, any other thoughts on commissioner recruitment or any of the rest of this before we adjourn? We're at 2:45 and I know we got a bit of a late start. Anything, anybody? Bueller? All right, well, thank you all for being here and, you know, getting through it, you know, pretty quick agenda. Our next scheduled meeting, we've been meeting on odd number months, so that would be November. But we may end up, if we don't have any agenda items urgently needing a vote, I think in past years, we've combined that with our all SSA annual meeting, which takes place in December. I don't know that we have selected a venue for that yet. Pre-COVID, we always used to do that as an in-person meeting, usually with like a breakfast. We'd go through our annual report presentation and feed everybody. So it's usually a fun time. And let me check my calendar and see if we have a date for that yet. It's usually a Thursday. It doesn't look like we have a date on the calendar for that yet. But it's usually like the second or third Thursday of the month, and it's usually breakfast time. So stay tuned. I'll send that information around once we have it locked down. But I think that's everything we had for this particular meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cindy.
Thank
Nice to
you.
see everyone.
Have a great rest of your day. Oh, Chris,
Bye.
before you go, Carolina had asked me to reach out to you about, I think you were in the midst of renewing your commissioner application. She had a
Or-
question about,
Something to me.
yeah, she said she had a question about like city debt.
This is a weird, like, no one can find it but her. Like I called, I don't know. I mean, I
That's,
don't have any unpaid parking tickets.
yeah,
She's the only one that seems to be able to find it. I don't know what else to do.
it's frustrating. I think we had a similar problem with a commissioner in another district. And they were eventually able to prove that it was like a prior owner of the building that like didn't pay a water bill or something. They were trying to stick her with it and it wasn't her. But I was not directly involved with it myself, because Caroline is the one that usually handles the admin stuff.
What do you, whatever I don't know what to do.
I'm,
Like, you know
yeah,
what it was? I think this had to do with like some weird no parking sign.
oh, like a loading zone or something?
Yeah, and I don't have a loading zone. I never had a loading. I had a loading zone for 2 weeks on the side of Columbia.
Okay,
And Alderman Moore made it all no parking. So they took the signs down. And
okay,
I paid the initial fee, but there was no, and I think that's what this got wrapped up into. And I've contacted, I don't think it's Streets and Sand. It's,
maybe BACP, if it's like a right-of-way use permit.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that name, but I've contacted him several times and then they said you don't owe anything. And I said, okay.
Okay. I'll let Carolina know and we'll see if there's anything that we can look into, because this always happens and it's always like city departments not talking to each other and not talking to like customers that like have permits. I'm dealing with it right now for a project we're working on.
Yeah, I got really far once. I had this great lady, we went pretty far with it. And then, it's not the top of my priority list.
Yeah, no, why would it be? Like, it's stupid. Like, they keep telling you that you don't owe money. So like, great, I don't have to care about this anymore.
Right.
But then you try to pull a different permit or do something else and they're like, you owe money. Where? Show me where.
And with the new sign we got put up, like no one, I mean, like we don't owe money. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Like, we don't owe anybody anything. So
Yeah.
we don't even have credit card debt. I mean, we
No,
don't.
yeah. I mean, like, I feel like the most popular like ones when people do turn up city debt, it's almost always like unpaid parking tickets or like water bill weirdness.
Sure.
This seems to not be either of those things.
Oh, I think it went back to a weird sign issue. And then the sign, we never had, like I said, we had the sign for 2 weeks. Because I didn't know the no park, on the sides of the street, there's no park.
Yeah.
If
If it was like either a loading zone, and loading zones and sign permits tend to trip people up because the permitting website for that is awful.
The 3 hour.
Okay.
Park. It was
Interesting.
I had a loading zone there, and then they turned it into 3 hour parking. And then, so they took the loading zone signs out. I mean, they were up for 2 months.
Yeah.
And then they took those out, and then the 3 hour parking went in. And then, then that's it. And then I think there's this weird pretend bill that I owe for no loading zone.
Yeah, but you didn't renew the loading zone, so you shouldn't be getting billed.
Yeah, I'll pay it. Like, I don't care. but I need a bill. Like I
She
can't
didn't,
just
yeah,
a
she
hundred.
didn't give me an amount. I don't know how much it even is that they're looking for.
I did, Cindy, I did send in money once. I was
Okay.
like, well, I'll just send in money. 'Cause and that's what we decided with the lady. That's how far we got. And I was
Alright.
like, for a hundo, I'll just pay it and then it'll be over with.
All right, well, I'll let Carolina know that. And too bad Kyle got off the call. He probably had to be on another meeting because that might be something that they might be able to assist with too. This sort of like permitting stupidity, like on the one hand, I'm glad to know it's not just me, but it also fills me with rage because
Yeah,
it just
everyone.
holds up all sorts of stuff when you least expect it.
And this is old, so like,
Yeah.
I feel like Rahm Emanuel didn't really care for him, but he really did turn, City Hall around, quite a bit and started working way more efficient. It's way more efficient now than it's ever been. But this was old. This
Yeah,
was
and that if it's because I think everything's in the same, permit portal now for public way use and loading zone and awning permits. I'm in the midst of sorting out all the ones that RPBA has, and there are dozens. And a lot of them are old and for things that like we don't have or do anymore. And I'm just trying to get them cleared out because like every so often they like a bill will pop up and we'll be like, what is this even for? And it'll hold up new things.
How are you clearing them out?
Some of them just want like updated insurance documentation. But I have to figure out what they are because it's not always clear from like the permit site. And sometimes I'm having to call and be like, what is this?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
What is this permit for?
How about those ID numbers they use?
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
not helpful.
No, there's no indication of what's really happening at all. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hey, and I apologize. 2:00 in the afternoon is tough to get my attention. So I've
Sorry.
got an ear on things, and I guess I'll have to set an alarm. Like 2:00. This is like go time for me.
I'm the same way. Like I come alive in the afternoon, and that's when I get stuff done.
Yeah. So I apologize if I'm not 100%.
No, it's fine. I mean, thank you for being here. Like, it wasn't like that intensive an agenda. Like, we were able to get done what we needed to get done in 45 minutes. And that's how I like to run my meetings.
All right. How are we ending this with this money in this?
I will get you, me, and Carolina on an email chain. If you have like any screenshots like of your permit portal or anything, like
Sure.
that might be helpful to have.
Okay. Yeah.
Like if you have like anything that says like, I don't know anything, like we can maybe reach out to Kyle and to BACP and be like, what the hell?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm gonna write that down. I'll send that to Carolina.
Okay.
Screenshot of portal. Okay, great. And then if she can do something with that would be amazing. Because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. No, I don't either because the permitting situation is, the website looks like it's from 1998. It's slow as hell.
Yeah, there's like one guy who shows up late to work every day in a little room that everyone forgot about.
Yeah, I had to submit 10 public way use permits for a public art exhibition that we were trying to do on Devon Avenue in Westridge. I submitted the permit applications with drawings, with insurance, with everything in mid-July. They still have not been approved. I got the Alderwoman's office involved. Like, it's apparently the one guy at CDOT that reviews these things was on vacation.
The one guy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Anyway,
Okay.
I sympathize. Permitting is hard.
I will do that though. I'll go into the portal and I'll shoot a screenshot over to Carolina so she has something.
Excellent. All right.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
See you soon. Bye.